Hello! When you think of what a memorable villain needs, what do you think of? Do you think about their motivations, their scary factor,
Blow A train,
or maybe how many children they sent to a nice farm? If you thought of any of those, you would be correct. Squid Game has quite a lot of those villains, maybe even too many. But what if I told you that this goofy-looking unk is one of them? That was a little mean, I'm sorry. But player 336 here doesn't really have any of the traits from earlier. Don't get me wrong, he's still a good character, but at sometimes his personality was just completely one-sided, which this plus some other things led him to become one of the most forgotten antagonists, if not even characters, in the entire series. But how did he make it this far into the games? Why is he so forgotten? And why do I still think that he is a good character? I will try to answer all of these questions in this video.
You want to leave so bad, why stuff your faces with kimbap, huh? It'll be quicker if you all just starve!
Alright, the first time we see him is just like with most minor characters during red light green light as a picture on the floor. And for some reason, he looks really tired. His real name is Lee Seung-won. And during the first 3 games, we basically don't get to see him at all. Except once, because on the wiki, there's a picture of a different player 336, but I couldn't find him anywhere, probably because under the picture, it says behind the scenes. But we do know that his team in the 6-legged pentathlon was completely stacked with good players, most notably 203, who as we know will be playing a very big role in the story. But back to 336, because after those first 3 games, we see him on the O side after voting O for the 3rd time in a row, which means that he really needs that money. When the vote results in a tie, we see him once again, but this time sitting on the beds while eating his kimbap with the other Os. And when Dae-ho shows his marine tattoo and all the O players make fun of him, we see 336 also standing up and laughing at it. After that, he gets his first line of dialogue. Usually a character's first line does the most work in defining who they are, and well.
You want to leave so bad, why stuff your faces with kimbap, huh? It'll be quicker if you all just starve!
That's not just a really messed up thing to say, but it's also just not how starving works. Bro got everything wrong. This shows us how he does not care at all about the well-being of those who want to leave early. Because if he had to leave early, the current price money would most certainly not be enough for him. But after the bathroom fight, which 336 is not involved in, the remaining players all try to blame each other and convince their team that the other side started that fight. When the players realize that out of the 5 people that got eliminated, only 2 of them were ex-players, the O players, 336 included, come up with a plan where they attack the ex-players while they're sleeping. When they then actually attack them, we can see 336 armed with a fork as one of the first players to go in. During the fight, we can also spot him stabbing this random ex-player that thought he was him. But he also somehow got his hands on this metal thing from the beds and goes completely nuts on this other guy. I don't know how, but he did way more damage to the ex-players in the lights out game than I thought. When the lights go back on, we can see how only the first one of his victims actually died. But anyways, Ji-hun and his gang somehow managed to surprise attack the guards and got their hands on their guns in order to rebel and stop the games. But this random player 0 for 7 immediately tries to shoot some of the O players, including 336, but Ji-hun tells him to Ayo chill, and convinces him not to shoot them. And that's literally all the screen time 336 gets in Season 2. But after the rebellion that completely failed, we can see him again in Season 3. Because in Season 3, some of the O players, plus 336, make fun of Ji-hun for failing the revolt. Player 100 even suspects him to be an imposter that actually just wanted to get rid of those players. 336 gives him right, and he mentions how he's the only player that got spared by the guards. But when the players start cheering and applauding ironically, 336 is the only one who doesn't join in. I have to theories on why this could be the case. It's either because they had to shoot this scene like 30 times, and the actor who plays him got sick of clapping his hands for the 30th time, or it's because 336 could feel Ji-hun's main character aura for a second and decided to not try to humiliate him any further. The next time we see him is while he enters the room of the hide and seek game, where just like all the previous players I've talked about so far, he gets a red ball, which means that he will be a seeker. When the red players talk about how the blue team has an unfair advantage, he is the one to point out how none of the hiders are just gonna stand there and ask them to kill them. But the guards then reveal how the seekers also get a knife, which I suppose is enough for him, because he decides to not switch teams with someone. But I found something really funny that I bet you never saw before, because in the background of this scene, it almost looks like 203 is giving 336 a tutorial on how to stab someone.
Alright bro, first you need a knife, then you just stab someone like this.
During the game though, we can only spot him once, and it's when he stabs this random woman that we saw earlier. I guess 203's tutorial helped a lot, because he passes this game pretty easily. After this we have to skip through like at least an entire episode until we see him again in the sleeping room. When player 149 starts begging the O players to let them leave, he looks like he doesn't even consider voting X.
Don't care, still don't care.
And proceeds to vote O anyways. Then we have to wait until jump rope, where he doesn't really do anything that notable. He goes onto the bridge as one of the first players and manages to jump the rope until 96 stops blocking the bridge and making it through the 5th game as one of only 8 players. We then see him unable to rest and going over to 353's bed because he wants to ask him if he knows how much the current price money is. And luckily for him, 353 was a math teacher on the outside, and he's able to calculate it in seconds, telling him that currently the price money is at 5.6 billion won. They both come to the conclusion that 5.6 billion is enough for them. 353 warns him that player 100 owes 10 billion, and just as they're about to consider voting X in the next voting, the guards come into the room. But when they tell the players how much the price money currently is, they tell them that instead of 8 players, they're actually 9, because that random baby that Ji-hun has been carrying around is now a player. Even though it didn't sign a contract, even though it doesn't actually have a number, even though it is unable to vote, even though
One eternity later.
all the O players except Min-soo understandably lose it after hearing this, because they would get way less money because of that baby. 336 says that this doesn't make any sense at all, and that if the mother got eliminated, the baby has to get eliminated too. They then all try to eliminate it themselves, but the guards don't allow them in order to keep the games fair, which in my opinion is absolute bogus. But whatever. They then get their suit and final meal before deciding if they want to keep playing. But before they're allowed to vote, the square guard reveals that in the final game, the players are allowed to choose which players will get eliminated, and that only a minimum of 3 players have to get eliminated in order to complete it. 336 asks him again, just to be sure if they're really allowed to choose which players will get eliminated, and the guard tells him that that's correct. So after 353 votes O again, 336 also votes O because he thinks that he will survive anyways. The O players have the majority once again, and before they go to bed, all the O players start trying to make a plan for tomorrow's game. Player 100 tells his team that it's going to be easy because the players that they're going to eliminate are Min-soo, Ji-hun, and the baby. After that, 336 reminds them that after they eliminated those 3 that they're all gonna play nice and not turn on each other. When they wake up the next day, they walk through the staircase hall and then into the Sky Squid game area. After taking the elevator up on to the first shape, they listen to the rules, and they quickly realize that they can't push off Ji-hun first, because then they would also have to push off the baby on the same pillar. So they push off Min-soo in the first round. After that, they make their way over to the triangle, where they try to trick Ji-hun into giving them the baby. They tell him that they don't actually want this, and 336 tells him how he has a wife and kids, but Ji-hun still doesn't want to just give them the baby. So 333 tells the rest of the group that he has a plan, which involves making a rope out of their jackets that they can bind around one person on their team in order to pull that player back after he grabs the baby. They play rock, paper, scissors in order to find out which one of them has to do the grabbing part. Unfortunately, player 100 and 336 lose, and 336 loses the second round against 100. So he's the one that is going to grab the baby, while 333 pushes off Ji-hun with the pole. 336 tells Ji-hun that they found a fair way to end this game. They're just going to draw lots, and Ji-hun seems fine with that plan, so he lets his guard down for a second. This is just enough time for 336 to charge at him and grab onto him, but because Ji-hun bought the in-game pass, he has a knife that he uses to cut through the jacket rope and threaten 336. 336 begs him to not push him off. He tells him that he has a wife and kids, and that the other players forced him to do this. But before Ji-hun can do anything, 333 uses his pole to push him off and kill him because of fall damage. It's very ironic that he told everyone to not betray each other just for him to become the first one to get backstabbed. Honestly, seeing him beg like this at the end kind of made me sad. I know bro killed 2 people, but come on, most of the remaining players did. The reason why he is so forgotten is because he did basically nothing that important to the story, because he died way too early in Squid Game, and because his death kind of felt undeserved. Like bro did everything right. The only reason he died was because of things that were completely out of his control. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. And don't forget, if you ever find yourself in the Squid Games, just follow 203's tutorial. Goodbye.